Would you mind telling me about like how much houses are going for? Like what's the range?
The range?
Yeah.
I guess it'd be 0 to infinity.
Yeah, it could be anything. I've had a house for $2,000. I've had a house for $5 million.
Really?
It's anything, yeah. Houses are worth however much they're worth.
No, I mean I know that there are however much they're worth, but I mean just like today, like what's the lowest?
I don't know. I mean I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean I've had different prices. I don't keep them all in my head or anything.
Okay. Yeah, it is a lot of houses.
Yeah.
It turned out really well. Yeah.
What'd you see? Like what was the response?
Well, the investors, they were very annoyed. I think a lot of the people who were like auctioning off the houses were they had this sort of like a nervous laughter, like, oh yeah, you guys are silly. But then as we kept shaming them, they got this like really nervous smile on their face. So I think we really kind of like, I think we effectively shamed them for sure. I was talking to another investor, he was saying like, oh well, it's not our fault. And I think they don't really want to understand, like, they don't want to take blame for it, like they don't want to think that they're the bad guys or they're playing into this unjust system.
Housing is a human right! Housing is a human right! Housing is a human right!
What we're doing today is Survivors Village and May Day, as part of the Take Back the Land movement, are putting up or erecting a tent city to reclaim public land. These are the first 4 tents. We don't know how big it's going to get, but we're setting this up outside of the former St. Bernard project, where there's still a lot of people who are displaced. In fact, out of all of the housing developments, they had the fewest people come back. And yesterday, after we went into the office, we were told by Hano, that, which is the Housing Authority of New Orleans, that people who were promised to come back to this housing development, which is now Columbia Park, were lied to, which goes against, the Convention on having like the right of return. Internally displaced people have the right to go back to where they were before any sort of like tragedy or whatever it is that made them internally displaced people. And it goes against housing being a human right as well. So that's what St. Bernard is facing. So we're focusing on the St. Bernard area because of that. And this is sort of a piece that helps connect what's happening with public housing residents to just renters in general in the city. New Orleans was 70% renter before the storm. And out of that, there are very few government programs were actually created to get renters back into the city, and so we've seen a great shift in the demographic. So you can see on the things, it says at least 1 out of 4 people are still displaced. Because that's the number that we're looking at least, and we're not quite sure what, 1 out of 4 people that were here before the storm are not here, even though the population is back to pretty much what it was before the storm. It's not the same people. And so housing being a human right, people having the right of return, this is setting up a tent city that is both a statement and practical because people can live in it.
Vacancy. These were small, black, working class landowners who ended up not being able to come back home because of deficiencies in the Road Home program. This was also an area of renters, and there was no program at all to help renters come home. So this area here is 80% still blighted and vacant after the storm. The government and the capitalists and the rich people only want to redevelop those parts of the city and of this area that can bring a profit. Across the street where we have 1,500 working class people living in public housing, primarily black women and children, has been totally demolished, and the government has financed a development that the only people who really benefited are the rich developers who were economically attached to Alphonse Jackson, the man who was overheard at the time, we still have the majority of our neighborhood totally displaced. We, Survivors Village, Mayday, I hope I can say stand, Take Back the Land movement, are now beginning today to start a movement where we intend to initiate a situation where renters or homeowners should go into properties that are owned either by the state through the road home program, such as this property. It's not owned by a private individual, it's owned by the state through the road home program, or bank-owned properties, and we're asking people, be they renters or homesteaders, to physically become a part of this by coming to take over the program, being willing to work to improve it, and through, with help from us and the rest of the community, take what is now a property just sitting here in a blighted area and turn it into a place where people can live.
Right now, the police will stop everybody from sleeping on the bridge, break people up and stuff every day, morning, wrestle people down. That's how people bring some food to people. Cops come out here and wrestle people down and stuff till you can't stay in the bridge. If you can't stay in the bridge, they're going to give you a warrant at the time, they're going to write you up, you're going to go in jail. And like I told you, they ain't going to bother me. I'm getting out. I ain't scared of the cop and I ain't scared of staying over the bridge. If I ain't got nowhere to go, I'm going to stay here till I find somewhere to stay. But right now,
all right. Yay!
I'm cleaning this place out real good. This will be my home.
Well, I live in the 7th Ward. In my area alone is over 500 blighted properties. And nobody's staying there. Housing Authority gave out X amount of vouchers. And I was at that meeting, talked to Mr. Gilmore. I mean, a very simple example. If you got 10,000 people are homeless and you only giving out 4,000 vouchers, where are the other 6,000 people going to go at? Simple mathematics.
I think that today is a great sign of hope for the city of New Orleans. We have right now over 50,000 vacant properties in the city of New Orleans, and we have tens of thousands of homeless people. Mike was telling me that New Orleans right now has more homeless people than any city in the country, and we have more vacant houses than any city in the country. And that's where the idea that housing is a human right comes from. The homeless, the people without homes, have a human right, an internationally respected human right to housing. And if the government won't give it, then people have a right to take that themselves. A human right is not something you apply for. It's not something you have to fill out eligibility forms to receive. It is a human right. You're entitled to it as a human. And this is a sign of hope because the people here are doing what the government should be doing, which is matching up the thousands of vacant homes with the thousands of people who need homes.
This scene is being replicated throughout the United States, and that's both scenes. The scene where you have people with no place to live, and the scene where you have places with no people to live in them. And the second scene of matching those two up is happening all over the place as well. So we had this happen in Portland, Oregon, in Sacramento, California, in Toledo, Ohio. This has happened in Madison, Wisconsin, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in Boston, Massachusetts, in St. Petersburg, Florida, in Miami, Florida, of course. So this is happening all over the United States. And people are asserting the human right to housing ourselves.
Why we've been doing 3 days of action. When we started off over at Columbia Park trying to get St. Bernard residents back into their homes, which is now Columbia Park, so it's a different housing development or whatever. And then the next day, we decided to have a tent city, which is sort of a renter support and a renter solidarity action with people who are displaced and people who are homeless, because 1 out of 4 people are still displaced from New Orleans. Even though the numbers are back to normal, it's not the same people who were here before, and this is not the same city. And so today, we're bringing people in, we're having people come home, because we're going to do what the government will not do for us.
All right, all right.
It's our human right to do so. We know our rights. Thank you.
We encourage everyone watching this film and in earshot to join us in building the Take Back the Land movement as we grow and expand and realize the human right to house.